Well, welcome everybody for our next NARI Spotlight. Today we have Thomas Croessmann with us. Hello, Thomas.
Hi, Art. How are you doing?
Good. And I do want to say we appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. We really do want to have everyone know what type of clients that NARI has, and you're certainly one of the ones that we want to make sure we showcase. Okay.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. So anyway, Thomas, I always find it interesting. We meet people and we find out what they do, but we don't really know what they do or how they got there. So do you mind just taking a moment and let us know what is it that you actually do and how did you end up doing it?
Sure. So I'm a partner at the law firm of Croessmann Westberg. We are a firm that focuses on construction clients, both commercial and residential construction clients. And then we also have a small business division, and we represent clients in all of their legal needs, essentially except for family law. So if you're getting a divorce, don't come to me. But if you have any other problems with your business or your construction business, give me a call and we try to help you out. How I got here was actually, I grew up in the construction field. My father owned a construction business. I worked in it. And then I went off to college and law school and was interning at a very large firm down in Norfolk, Virginia. In fact, at the time, it was the 5th largest firm in Virginia. Wow. And right as I was about to graduate law school, things for that firm started going bad, and I was not able to secure a position. So that got me and my new wife transported back up to the DC area. And after being in the DC area for a while, I noticed that there was a need for a lawyer that could really help residential contractors. And that's why we started our business.
Great. All right, so it sounds like you definitely specialize with the contractors, home remodelers, electricians, HVAC, the people who work in the home. Is that accurate?
That is. Particularly, I'm the head of the residential contractor side of our business. Again, we do have the commercial side. I do work in that side, but we have other lawyers who are more adept to dealing with people that just do commercial work. Whereas I deal with the residential contractors. And the reason that we do that is because the two different fields are quite different. There are much more regulations on the residential side than there are on the commercial side. And so to know that and then be able to help contractors is a real benefit.
All right, that's interesting. And so it sounds like, one of the benefits to your end user, the contractor, is that you probably have dealt with almost anything that they can come up with. Is that accurate?
Pretty darn close, but sometimes new cases will walk through the door and they'll blow your mind, and you have to learn to adapt.
All right, interesting. Now, Thomas, you talk about the commercial division and the small business division. Obviously, each one of those have their unique needs around the type of client. How has choosing to work with home remodelers and home contractors, how has that impacted your business model? What do you do that might be different than if you had picked a different field?
So the reason that we picked home remodelers is because we noticed that there wasn't really lawyers out there that had an expertise in that particular field, in that particular niche. And we do have construction attorneys out there. And if you were to Google that term, you'd find a couple of law firms that do that. But when they say construction attorney, they really are meaning on the commercial side. And so what we saw was that essentially left the residential remodelers, residential builders, to go and find general practitioners who are not experts in the field of construction or the regulations that go along with it. And while they may get a contract from a lawyer and it is a well-written contract, it doesn't mean it meets the regulations, and it may actually be setting the contractor up for failure. We've seen them, we've reviewed them and edited them over the years. But the other part was we took a very simple business model, and that was undercut our competitors. And we do that for a couple of reasons. It's not just to land more clients, but it's because of the type of clients we serve. Residential remodelers, by their nature, tend to be a smaller business than the commercial market. Commercial clients tend to have gross amounts of 10 to hundreds of millions of dollars. The typical residential client that we serve can be anywhere from $1 million gross or less to about 5 million. We do have the rare one that does 16 or 20 million, but that's on the rarer side. And so we have set our services and our prices to accommodate somebody who has that smaller business, so that we're not coming in there and just crushing them with legal fees, because we want them to get the work done so that they're protected. We can deal with the money side later. In fact, we, over the years, have developed a lot of in-house financing options so that businesses can come in, get the work done, protect themselves now, and pay for it over time. What we don't want to do is say, we charge X for our services, and that be a barrier to the potential client. We want them to be able to get that work done.
Great. All right. That sounds unique, that you actually can design the operations of supplying that service to their unique needs by specializing. If you were not working a niche, you wouldn't be able to structure it in such a simple way. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree with that. And we worked really hard on how we've built this business over the last few years. All of these things have been a developing trend. You know, we didn't start this way, but we developed it by seeing what our clients need and seeing how we can accommodate that need.
Right. That's interesting. Now, earlier when we were talking before we started taping this, you had brought up an interesting point. I'd just love you to share it with people, that particularly in this area, you know, where we are in the Metro DC area. So you said something that I'd never thought of before, that a typical contractor actually needs, I guess, at least 3 different contracts, because in most cases they're working in Virginia, Maryland, and DC. And so they actually need a separate contract for each one of those. Is that accurate?
That is. In fact, I give a lot of talks at different organizations or different contractors' offices about this. Each state governs and has separate regulations governing contractors and how they deal with consumers. In fact, what a lot of contractors don't realize is when you are dealing with a consumer, which any home remodeler would, you actually have consumer protection laws that you have to follow. And most people don't think of it like that. They think, oh, consumer protection, that's like if I sell a blender. But consumer protection is broader and deals with services that are offered to consumers for their home. But separate from that, each state has their own set of regulations, like we just talked about. The Department of Professional Occupation and Regulations, DPOR, is the one in Virginia. DACRA is in DC, and then DLLR in Maryland. And people come to me all the time and say, Thomas, I want you to draft me one contract that meets all 3 requirements. And I just simply tell them I cannot. We've seen other companies try to do it. We don't think it's very effective. And the reason is because those regulations can sometimes be contradictory. And so you may have a clause that is required in Virginia, and then the Maryland clause says the exact opposite. And so
Okay.
the best solution that we have come up with is having 3 separate contracts. Or I mean, if you go to different states, and we've done it in different states, in Pennsylvania and New Jersey and North Carolina and West Virginia, they all have their own regulations as well that you have to adapt to.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Well, I've really enjoyed getting to know you better, Thomas. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we thank you for helping us with the NARI Spotlights.
No, thank you so much for having us. One more thing that I would like to put a little plug in for us.
Sure.
Is that when we developed this firm, we wanted to bring in lawyers that had a lot of different expertise. So while we are construction lawyers, we actually have lawyers on staff who are licensed architects, Class A contractors, and I'm not nearly as impressive. I have a Maryland real estate broker's license, but we tried to bring in a group of lawyers that had these different life experiences and licenses and knowledge so that we can better help the client. Because at the end of the day, for example, my real estate broker license helps when a contractor comes to me and says, Thomas, I'm looking to lease this space, or I'm looking to sell my space or buy this space. And I have that background to be able to guide them more than just another construction attorney. And the same thing comes into play when we have issues with architects. We have an architect on staff who's also a lawyer, and he can bring that knowledge in to help solve the issue.
Well, that's great. That has to be somewhat unique.
It is. It is.
Absolutely. All right. Very good. Until the next NARI meeting, we'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much.